Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 29, the third social race on the PlayStation platform, and we go to the Circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet in France for the French Grand Prix, where we'll be doing the sprint format once again. 18-minute short qualifying, 5-lap sprint qualifying, and then a 50% race, which went very well last time in USA, so hopefully we'll have a good race tonight. My name is Jess, and joining me in the commentary box, you'll probably get used to him a lot this season in the top-tier commentary, it is Mark Alimonda. How are you doing?
Not too bad, trying not to roast myself to death. I got the fan on full blast, but it's probably less hot actually in real life than it is right now in this very bedroom. So it is good to be back on the commentary. Looking forward to top tier PS4 commentary. What a race we had in the PC, and that's just a social. We haven't even got to the nitty gritty of the competitive stuff yet.
Yeah, exactly. It was absolutely crazy. If you didn't watch it last night, make sure you watch it. We had hit almost 2,000 viewers, which for a social is pretty incredible, and we haven't actually started racing like he said. So, and it was a very good win from Lucas Bailey as well. But PC's done and dusted. Now over to the PS4 side, and we've got quite a good caliber of drivers on the grid today, including last time race winner VSR Juice, who looked really good in USA. In the 5-lappers and in the sprint race, of course, as well. And considering they had default setups in the race on Monday, we should see something similar today. But again, France, different track, different conditions as well in terms of the track layout and stuff like that. And different sets of tyres to get used to in different compounds. So we may see a different person be on top of the timing sheets. Maybe Midnight will be up again like he was in the first social race in Britain on last week. So quite a few drivers to watch out for tonight.
Yes, a good mixture. I mean, there's a lot of tier 1 faces, as you'd expect. We've got, you know, a couple of former PSGL F1 champions and also indeed a reigning double champion in Wilson Hughes. And of course, Jess, the big news is Wilson Hughes will not be carrying on in the top tier PS4 as he looks for a transition to the PC tier.
Yes, indeed. And we've seen quite a few PS4 drivers made the transition to PC for the foreseeable future as well. Some of those have joined PC for the season, which is great to see. I wonder how they're going to do as well. But for Wilson as well, who knows when we'll see him on the PC side. I'm sure he would be absolutely fantastic, but it will take a while to get used to. He will be on a different platform. Even for me and you, because we've been on PC as well, it does take a while, but we know he'll be back to his old self very soon as well. So we're starting to see times on the board. The banker lap time is a 1:27.9. The French Grand Prix first opened in 1971. The layouts have changed dramatically since then, including in 2019, where the pit lane has changed to where it was now, which drivers used to get confused with, but not anymore as well. But I have to say, the tyres, they're going to be a lot more tricky to deal with in terms of degradation compared to Britain. Obviously, Britain was an easy soft to medium strategy. USA as well, potentially soft to medium, but quite a few people did soft to hards on Monday. But the social races, they can actually experiment. They're not fighting for points, as it were. So they can go crazy. They can go ambitious. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it gives them a good experience on what it's going to be like in Season 29 for when we go racing for real in a few weeks' time.
I mean, it didn't seem that long ago the calendar was announced, and we're not too far away now from the beginning of the season. But yes, you're right. Very different track to Silverstone. I mean, a lot of the track, particularly Sector 2 and Sector 3, is at full throttle. And, you know, that straight between Sector 2 to Sector 3, I mean, it's only that little chicane that slows you down. Otherwise, it would have been flat out all the way down to turn 10. So, seeing some decent lap times out there so far, trying to get a sort of a grip on the circuit. There are some awkward traction zones here. I think one of the most important ones is just after the end of Sector 1. It's a very awkward sort of leaning right corner there. And if you get the traction wrong there, you're going to be an absolute sitting duck in terms of race terms from the car behind in terms of defending. Because defending on that straight up to that chicane is very difficult indeed, because the slipstream DRS is so powerful here.
Yeah, it is as well. In particular towards turn 7 and 8 as well. We're probably going to see a few overtakes there. And In real life, we are treated to quite boring French Grand Prix races, apart from, obviously, this year, where we actually was treated to quite a cracker of a race towards the front, and hopefully we'll see the same in league races in PSGL where we do go to France. I'm looking forward to that. So let's go on board with a hot lap with our head of graphics here at PSGL, CC Brain. I've got to say, great graphics for the season so far. Good job to him. So we may as well give him some glory on the stream at the moment. He's going to be heading towards and he's invalidated. So we're not going to go on board with him. And that's a commentator's curse. Unfortunately, stroke again. But yeah, turn one, I would say, probably the easiest to invalidate your lap time. So I wonder that is why some people have not set some laps. Juice has invalidated, I believe. Os Formula has invalidated as well. And we only got 14 drivers that set a lap time. So hopefully CC Bray can go in once again and set a lap. But it's not like the traditional PSGL setup where they got the short qualifying 50% race. Everyone's on the soft because obviously in the 5-lap race, the softest tyre is the way to go because you don't have to pit. So we're not going to see any mediums in this short qualifying session. The strategies will mainly come into play when we go into the 50% race a little bit later on.
Yes, you're right. I mean, the strategic element of qualifying is somewhat taken away with the sprint race format because, you know, no one's going to want to qualify on the slower tyre because the sprint race is in effect sets the grid for the main event later on this evening. Just on board with Ash Best at the moment, car number 13, and he's having a good run of it so far. In P4, just behind VRT Balliner, who of course fresh from winning the World Online Racing Championship top tier, the first time PS4 had that last season. So he's looking to, assuming the evaluations go well, just to get into the top tier of PS4 in PSGL and try and carve out some of his own history here.
Yes, indeed. Banner was looking very, very strong in F2 last season, and he actually won the F2 Championship in PSGL by a singular point. And he's one of the first champions in a while to win a title, an F2 title, without even winning a race, which goes to show how close the F2 Championship was last season as well. So, without a shadow of a doubt, if Banner continues the performances he's put in last season and in these social races and evaluations that they got to do, I'm almost certain that Balliner is going to be in F1 this season. I mean, he's got the talent. He was in the Challenger Series as well, so he is definitely something to keep an eye on. Not the Challenger Series, sorry, the time trial event as well. And, you know, is something... He's an esports star of the future as well. And we can argue that some of these drivers, they have the talent to go into F1 esports, but obviously they can only take 10 lots of free drivers in a season, and not everyone could be accepted. So it's just great on how spoiled for talent we are in PSGL as well. We got a former esports driver, Casper, on the grid as well, and he was the one who actually organised this social event for tonight. So thank you very much to Casper. He's on an outlap right now, but I'm trying to see if anyone is on board about to finish a lap. No, everyone's on their outlaps with 8 minutes to go, but I do believe they will be going for the softer option, I would say, in this qualifying session. Actually, not the softer option, as they don't actually get a choice on how many softs they have in this game compared to last game, which is quite annoying, especially if you want to go on full soft runs. But that's why probably some people have stayed in the pits for as long as they needed to as well. So Juice is going through turn one. Let's see if we can go on board with a hot lap without someone invalidating, please. That will be lovely. We're heading towards the heavy traction stones now as well, and it looks like Juice has had the car very, very comfortable right now. I'm quite surprised he hasn't set compared to the lap time yet, but he heads towards turn 7. Ignore the engine noise at the moment. It only fixes itself when people go into the pits, which surprises me at the moment. And hopefully Cody's and EA do have a patch coming out soon to fix the spectator sound glitches. So heading towards turn 8 now. DRS activated. Well, he did activate the DRS. The DRS is actually in the centre. Once the green light is on, that is when the DRS is activated, for those of you that don't know. It's not on the right-hand side anymore, so quite hard for us to realise at times as well. But heading past turn 10, some people could be very brave going for a move towards there. We've seen that in PSGL many, many times, F2, F1. And I think I was watching an F3 race a few months ago where they've done that as well. So that was pretty intense. So heading towards the final few corners. I didn't see what his sector 2 was like, but he's looking very good. No invalidation so far for the Mercedes driver. looking to topple Midnight with the 127.7. Can he go faster than him? A long run to the line. And it is pole position, 127.706, 2 thousandths quicker than Midnight. That is insanely close between the top two right now, Mark.
Absolutely. Just trying to compare their sector times to see where it was really won. So basically it was a faster sector 3 produced that got him that 0.02 difference in time, which got him over the line because they were pretty much even Stevens in sector 1 and sector 2.
Yeah, very impressive, I would have to say. Wilson, I think, is about to start another lap, or he might have invalidated his lap. No, I think he invalidated. It's hard to tell with the ERS, actually, if they are on a lap or not, because sometimes you could go on more than one lap on the tyres when you're not going to be using it in the race, because sometimes 5 laps you can really go for it right now as well. So we'll pick out a few drivers that are on the grid today, because we haven't talked all of them. Obviously, we talked about the big 3, and we got Juice's teammate Jordan, actually, which I was about to talk about, 127.5, so 2 tenths quicker than VSR Juice then. So an all Mercedes front row at the moment. Obviously, we got Bannon, F2 champion. Ash Beth was in F1. So was Duncan as well. Fabi was in F2 last season. Louis making a return as well. Great to see from him. Cortex has been in PSGL quite a few times. We've got Rudy, Slimbo. Joey, who was in PSGL F3 in season 27. He was in F2 for one race before something unfortunate happened, which we're not going to say on stream. And we all got Kryptonite, of course, one of the directors of PSGL, who's racing on this grid tonight. A bit of an unknown for him, but he's looking to climb up the grid as he can at the moment. 128.4, that's not too bad for one of the PSGL directors, I have to say.
No, I mean, that's fairly competitive. I mean, he's obviously not a top tier driver, at least. He may suddenly make that leap in the evaluation race, but no, it's not too bad a time. Top 17 covered by a second at the moment. So that's a pretty competitive grid for the social race, considering they're not all sort of F1 and F2 drivers. We've got some lowdown as well, volunteers coming in just to have a bit of fun, shake off a little bit of the rust before the season begins. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing sort of the time trial events ending, just to see what might give us a clue what will happen during the evaluation races, because some say that will be a sort of an easy ride for them, but let me tell you, I've done plenty of evaluation races over the years. You get nerves in any race you do, and if you mess up your evaluation races, you could suddenly find yourself not in the tier you wanted to be in.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I've experienced this in other leagues as well, the type of evaluation quali night format. You tend to perform worse in the evaluation races than you do when you're actually racing for real as well. And I think it is the added pressure on, I want to be in the highest tier possible, or I want to try and get into the tier that I wanted to. And it's tough if you don't get into maybe the top tiers as well. We've seen quite a few controversies in the past where people have left in PSGL due to the fact that they didn't get into the tier that they wanted to. Hopefully we won't see the same this season in season 29. We've got record-breaking sign-ups at the moment. I believe we had over 500 sign-ups on the PlayStation side, and I think about 250 on the PC, which is compared to what we've seen since the start of PSGL's history, that's mind-boggling as well. And to think that in F1 2020 we went big as well, and obviously F1 2019 we started to get bigger in viewers as well. So I was not expecting to go higher than this as well. But if you haven't signed up already, sign-ups close not too long from now, the 26th of July, which is in a few days. So if you do want to sign up, and who knows, one of us could be commentating on you, please do as well. And then you've got a few days after that to get in your time trials and evaluation races sorted as well. So you got to do those, of course. If you don't do those, you won't be put into a tier. The top 4 tiers, of course, no assists this season. The top 3 tiers were no assists last season, but F4 has now been promoted to a no assist tier. That's run on Fridays, and then we got some assist restricted tiers on Mondays as well. Assist tiers on Sundays and Thursdays. And obviously we got the PC tier, top tier, which is no assists, and then the other tiers to be decided, of course, because obviously we don't know what the days of the other tiers are going to be on PC, because we're definitely going to have more than one. The question is how many, it depends, but I know the directors are probably going to be working hard deciding which is going to be the best for PSGL, but We shall see. 2 minutes left to go. Any surprises on who you're expecting to be on the top, but they're not at the top right now?
No, I mean, looking at the top, there's not. I mean, I would suspect Casper be a bit disappointed so far, but perhaps he's used so much energy. He's invalidated again, actually. He's probably used so much energy organising the event, perhaps he's sort of taking his eye off the game a little bit. But P16, I would say that's probably the lowest driver in terms of where they would be. But yeah, you got like Midnight, Jordan, Juice, Hughes, Duncan, Ballina. I think maybe not in that order, but I suspect that is the 6 drivers in the top 6 you would expect looking at that field. But I think Duncan in particular, I watched this lap. I think he's got a little bit more time to find to maybe get into the top 3. And I think Wilson's in the same boat. There's definitely a bit of time out there. You know, I think Sector 3 in particular, looking at most of the onboards, they've been sort of struggling a little bit with the traction, in particular out of 12. And the break, judging that perfect sort of launch out of turn 15 as well. So I think that's where the time's going to be found. That's the time where, you know, earlier on we saw Midnight getting ahead. That sector 3 seems to be the important one. They seem to be pretty evenly matched in sector 1 and 2 in the top 6.
Yeah, they do as well, and I have to agree with you. The final sector, probably the one of the most hardest on this game in France, and obviously due to the low downforce this year compared to previous games as well. The handling model is different. Still, people are getting used to how it handles as well, and these are the setups they won't be using on the actual season, because obviously they'll be having setups for the season.
Look at that, Wilson.
Oh, Wilson, our champion, has definitely put his foot forward now. 127.548, and it's gone fastest right now as well. And to be fair, even though he's not racing this season in PSGL season 29, he is showing that if he was to race for another season, that he could definitely be up there, of course. I wonder if he's going to play a bit more behind the scene role, perhaps, maybe jeffing someone to possibly help them to a title. Jordan cannot improve. He does retire from the session, but we still have people finishing their laps will go on board. Rudy can't improve. Unfortunately, Kryptonite has invalidated his lap time. It's hard to tell the colours because most of them are below, so that's going to be difficult this season to manage. Anyway, CC Brain comes across the line now to finish his lap, and he comes across the line. P7, not too bad for an F2 driver. We got Haskar also across the line as well. And I think that was Louis. No, that was not Louis. That was someone else, I think, as well. But we do have an Aston Martin coming across the line. That is Casper. Can he go higher than 17th? That is more like it from the former Renault/Alpine Esports driver. 5th position, and Midnight goes fast again. 127.4. What could Wilson Hughes do about it? He can't do anything because he's invalidated. But Duncan, the championship contender from last season, only 4th fastest. We've got, I think, Cortex, who's just crossed the line. Yes, he is 13th position. Joey has unfortunately invalidated. So has Os Formula. Lars as well. Oh, he's gone off the circuit, so he's definitely not going to improve. And we got Naldi as well. Good to see him back in PSGL. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he's only in last position. I think he still needs to find his feet a little bit, but what a close feet up at the top, and it is great to see. But obviously it's not about the qualifying. That's where the points do not get awarded. It's about the race.
Absolutely. Some impressive showing. Yes, Fabi kind of struggled all of the session, but suddenly pops it in onto the front row. So that's a really, really good last gasp lap from Fabi to out-qualify the double champion Hughes. And Jordan Duncan, as you'd expect. Ballina P6, I think he'd be pretty satisfied with that for the sprint race. And Casper, definitely a good recovery right at the end. I think he would have had a really difficult night potentially if he'd stayed in 17 just before he get into the top 10 like that. But yeah, I mean, Midnight, that's very impressive pre-season pace to be outpacing some of those other drivers in PS4 at this early stage.
I was talking about him in a social race on Saturday around Britain, and to be honest, I wasn't surprised that he was up there as well. He was near the front towards the end half of last season in season 28, and I have to say, he was showing some very, very good pace in Canada especially, and there was a few times where he was interviewing the likes of Luke and Dan, and he was pretty shocked on where he placed the car at times in the race as well. But sometimes you got to be lucky and you got to improve on the pace, and that is what he's done. He was in F2 for a few seasons as well, and There was some doubts before that he wouldn't have picked up the pace for the F1 drivers, but with all the social races and towards the end of last season, he has definitely proven that he deserves an F1 shot this season in season 29. But don't forget, only the top 20 best drivers in PSGL history could go into the F1 tier. The rest will have to settle for the likes of F2 and F3, of course. And we're just waiting for the 5 red lights to go on for the 5-lap race, because don't forget, it is a 5-lap race first. And it is light on the way we go. We got a different starting grid, which is weird, but we're going to get underway anyway. And it looks like Midnight has got a very good start heading towards turn 1. Wilson's got a good start with his teammate Fabi as well, heading towards turn 2. And I think everyone has got away okay. I think we've got CC Brain going side by side, being swamped by the 2 Ferrari drivers behind. And we got a Mercedes driver of Juice, which is a bit out of place right now. But to be honest, playing the game hopefully does get sorted. But I wonder if we're going to see more people going for a position and more risk based on this 5-lappers. There's just more argy-bargy at the moment. We've got the likes of Louis going for the move as well. Ash Beth going side by side. There is a yellow flag on his contact with Juice and I think an Alpine car. I think that's CC Brain. Yep, CC Brain has just went off there. A bit of front wing damage, unfortunately. But a very good start for Midnight. But again, not really that surprised.
Yeah, real pain for the Brain there. He got swiped around by Juice and that was it. He was into the wall. You don't often see, I mean, these runoff zones are, you can fit a country in these runoff zones. You don't often see people in the barriers here, but that's massively compromised CC Brain's sprint race. But more importantly, it's going to massively compromise the main event that's coming up later on, as Juice gets a massive tug of oversteer on the throttle, which will put him under pressure from the other Ferrari of Slimbo. So at the moment, Midnight giving a decent gap from the 2 McLarens behind of Wilson and Fabi. Jordan just behind, Duncan and Ballina keeping a watching brief in the 2 Red Bulls. And some good gains down the field. Ashbeth's gaining 2 from P10. And further down, Oz Formula's gained 3 up to 13th. And Lars has gained 4. So making some good gains down there.
Lars has not gained 4.
Oh dear.
As he's had a bit of a spin in turn 1. So he's down into 17th position. But meanwhile, Joey and Rudy and CC Brain all go into the pits for damage, of course. And I do believe it's all front wing. But that's going to compromise their setup, their strategy in terms of the racing, of course. But they will, I believe they do have free tyre choice for the 50% race. But I will double check about that. But at least it won't affect them too much. And it may give them an advantage if it happened in real life. If the top 10 had to start on the tyres that they qualified on, they would obviously probably want to start on the alternate strategy. But anyway, Midnight still leads 4/10 over Wilson. DRS will be activated on lap 3. So the only person to not have DRS at this moment in time in terms of the top 15 is Midnight, as CC Brain is out of the session. And I think he lost it in turn 1, which is a bit of a shame, of course. But he's going to be starting the 50% race on the back of the grid. Here comes Nardi past Kryptonite towards turn 13, of course. And he did that very nicely indeed, of course. Nardi, I think, has gained the most. Don't forget he started 14th position. But it's a shame to lose a driver out of the 5-lappers because, you know, but he could avoid the carnage in the 50% race. So it's not all doom and gloom for our F2 driver from last season.
Yes, I mean, damage is on, so, and yeah, it was on the curbs on the exit of turn 2, the car spun around and yeah, just ripped off the right rear, and that was it, game over for CC Brain. So very disappointing as Oz Formula picks up a 2-second time penalty. So picking up time penalties in a short race like this, that must be quite frustrating. DRS enabled now, and Fabi, if anything, looks a bit quicker than Wilson at this point, but Wilson obviously has DRS as well, so should be able to cover off that event. Further behind, Juice getting close to the back, but this is a huge DRS train all the way down the top 10. And then you've got a further gap to Oz Formula behind, who's out of DRS range now, so I think he'll be under threat from the likes of Nardi and Krypton very shortly.
Yeah, exactly as well. And I wonder if the drivers are going to go for the overtake on the final lap. But maybe too little too late. We already lost another driver from this race, Rudy 1973. So we're down to 18 drivers. So it's good news if you're the likes of the ones who you weren't expect to be up there and try and challenge for the top position. Further down with the 14th. Cortex has lost positions from Louis and Lars, but don't forget Lars and Louis are faster drivers in Cortex, of course, so that's what you expect from them. But Cortex is not last, at least, so he's doing a good job. But we got Juice, who's got good straight line speed over Ash Best. Nardi's got past Oz Formula as well. We're already on lap 4 or 5. The race has gone very, very quickly already, and still the top 3 remained unchanged from the qualifying and the start of the race. I did see someone go off, but wasn't quite sure what it was. But he was lucky to get back onto the circuit once again. So heading towards turn 7 then. Juice, I think, looking like he's going to be the one most likely going for the move, as well as Jordan as well. Look at this. Jordan is very, very racy. Heading towards turn 8. Fabi covering to the right-hand side. Jordan trying not to leave as many space as possible, but at least Jordan did not go for the move there, because otherwise it would have been curtains for one of them or both of them as well. I wonder if Wilson is going to go for the move and go for plenty of risk, but no. He's a little bit too further back at the moment, because obviously with the dirty air on this game being much more of a fact, if you get too close, you're going to probably lose a bit more downforce and probably end up into a spin. And France is one of those tracks where it's hugely affected, Spain being one of them as well. And Juice gets past Ash Best in turn 11, I think it was. So very incredible stuff there from the Mercedes driver as well. And we got Casper around the back of Banner too. We're starting to see some final moves being made and some brave moves being done. And Midnight trying to break the slipstream from Wilson, as Wilson wants to make sure he gets the race win so he can start polling the main event tonight. Juice getting the fastest lap, Nardi getting the fastest lap. Let's see who's going to take this one.
Yes, I mean, Casper and Ballano went side by side through turn 11. It was quite spectacular. Casper eventually getting ahead as Jordan moves up to third now, getting ahead of Fabi just before the end of sector 1. And then Wilson all over the back of Midnight. Critical for Midnight to get the exit right here, because Wilson's going to be right in there in the DRS. And look at that weaving Alonso style to try and break the toe. But as we mentioned earlier, the toe is mighty here. Juice retires from the race. And
turns here again.
As well. And well, there we go. And Wilson not able to get past. So good straight line speed from Midnight to keep that advantage. Casper now dropping out DRS. So top 5 looks pretty locked in at the moment, unless Wilson does something incredible coming into turn 11. Look at that. Midnight lights flashing, battery is running out. And here comes Wilson trying to dive down the inside of Midnight, try and take this sprint race. Midnight breaks very, very late to try and take the outside line. Then he'll get the inside line for the following corner. Side by side, still they go. Oh, this is spectacular end to the sprint race here. Still side by side. The 2-time PSGL F1 champion going head to head with CRG's Midnight. And he gets ahead. And now can he defend it? He's just got to get the braking right here. And then he will take the checkered flag.
There we go then. Wilson did what he needed to do, save until the last lap to do it, but Midnight's not going to give out up a fight with this. But Wilson wins by 84 thousandths of a second. Jordan in third, Duncan in fourth, Fabi in fifth, Casper sixth, Banner seventh, Ash Best in eighth, Nardi in ninth, and Oz Formula in 10th position. And let's just say the top 9 is covered by F1 and F2 drivers from seasons gone by, whether it was last season or the season before, or if you're the likes of Falcon Nardi. I remember, we both remember commentating on this race in the Trovo series as well, so good to see him up there as well. And a few people bringing it across the line. There comes Joey, the final person to cross the line, but the PSGL F1 champion definitely did what he needed to do there, and he's just shown why he's a double PSGL champion. It's a shame he's not racing this season, but he's definitely want to try and have some fun in these social races.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a pretty fun race. Big props to Nardi, 11 places gained from the back of grid, so definitely the highest earner of places during that race. So that's going to set him up nicely for the main race. But yeah, Wilson, you know, he had a really tough battle there with Midnight, but yeah, despite the fact he's leaving the PS4 top tier, he's just reminded everyone a little bit, at least in this sprint race, what he can do. Hell, maybe if this goes well tonight, he might think about, well, it's going to take a while to upgrade my old PC, so maybe I'll stick around for an extra season. You never know.
Well, he's still got a few more days to sign up, of course, so you never know what could happen for Wilson. So he could change his mind. We've seen that a few times. Don't forget, season 26. Last minute, Big C signed up for F2, and Yeah, and history was made, really, and then he retired after that as well. But that was still a good moment as well. But anyway, let's go through your order. For the 50% race, we've got Wilson, Midnight, Jordan, Duncan, Fabi, Casper, Banana, Ash, Best, Nani, and Os Formula. They make your top 10. And then we got Kryptonite, Louis, Fuzzy, Slimbo, Cortex, Joey, Juice, Lars, Rudy, and CC Brain. We've had, I believe, 4 retirements from the sprint qualifying, which is not good. Juice will have to do not quite last 2 challenge, but you know what I mean. The back of the grid challenge to wherever he needs to be to make sure he can reach up to the top, guys. But the lobby is being set for the 50% race now, so the custom grid will be sorting. So it's gonna take a while for the drivers to do that as well. But I'm just drawing my eyes for Juice a little bit there. It was a bit of a shame that he got damaged and he retired, but you know, he's one of the top drivers for a reason. He could possibly gain a few positions if he keeps his nose clean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a very different approach to the race now. I think they're going to be a little bit more careful. It's going to be a bit more focus on the rest of the field, but there were so many battles going on the front. But I think we'll see, you know, more of a normal race that we're used to. A 50% race around Paul Ricard. It's going to be clear weather. It's not going to be any unpredictable quality about that. So yes, despite the higher deck you get here at Silverstone, it is still going to be a one-stop strategy more than likely. It's just going to be a question of which strategy they're going to go for. I mean, the safe option is for those starting on the softs would be to go soft to hards, but I think some of those drivers should be capable of doing soft to mediums as well.
Yeah, I think we've seen quite a few risks, I think, in seasons gone by where soft to hard has been a common strategy for the drivers, but we've seen, especially in the top tiers, people go soft to medium. I do remember in F2 where people did soft to medium and I was like, why are you doing this? But then, and they pitted early as well, but then I realised the rain was coming, because France does have a bit of a history of having rain, but like we said, no rain on this lobby, because obviously they want to have a bit of fun. They don't want rain to ruin anything as well. And with a new approximate weather setting, I think, this season for season 29 and on the game as well, it just makes things even more unpredictable for the driver. And even as commentators as well, we won't know what the drivers will be facing. The drivers could tell us, oh, there's rain in 20 minutes or so, or 20 minutes into the race, and then it turns out there's going to be possibly no rain at all. So, you know, something for the drivers to be wary of course, but you know, I'm excited about that setting. I think that's the setting that I'm most excited for in the PSGL season. I don't think the drivers are, but we are certainly excited as commentators because we want to go into the unknowns.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, the weather system on previous F1 games was never that accurate anyway. Sometimes you had some weird things thrown up. So I think the approach to this race is it's going to be interesting to see. I still think, particularly those in the top 6, they're going to want to lay down a marker going into the evaluation races and indeed going into the season proper, which isn't far away now. So yes, you know, Wilson Hughes is not going to be in PS4 anymore, but he'll still want to, you know, perhaps leave on a high, or you know, remind people, yes, if I chose to stay, I would be a real contender for the championship. And this is a track which, in my view, at least until the recent race we saw when Verstappen beat Hamilton with the 2-stop strategy, it was a track that certainly lended its hand better to online league racing than real life racing. And you know, looking back at the history of the event, of course, French drivers very prominent in their victories here. Alain Prost, the most victories of Paul Ricard in an F1 race with 4. But interestingly, 4 former F1 champions from Britain have won here. Jackie Stewart, James Hunt, Nigel Mansell and Lewis Hamilton, of course. So a lot of British success at Paul Ricard over the years.
Yeah, definitely. And in particular in PSGL as well, we could talk about Blizzard as well, who has been one of the most successful PSGL drivers in France, not gonna lie, and Blizzard I think would like that record as well. Shame he's not racing tonight. Who knows, we could see him in season 29. Not quite sure if he signed up yet, but hopefully he has, because if he does, I think he's definitely going to be one of the forces to be reckoned with the likes of Midnight, Juice, Balliner, Duncan, and if Wilson did change his mind for joining another season, Wilson as well, so that should be interesting. Just a quick reminder for those of you that are still thinking about signing up, what you could face in terms of what you have to do. So make sure you go on to our Discord, which the link is in the description, and you should see 2 options on the Discord. You should see one for PC if you're interested in the PC side of things, and there's also an option for PS4. So if you go on to PS FAQ and instructions, it should tell you more information on how to sign up, and then go to the sign up here channel for your respective platform, put your PSN, and then it should tell you what days you're free, what times, and obviously what assists you run. Like we said earlier, the top 4, no assists at all this season. Anything else after that is to be decided by the league admins, because who knows, we may get more than 4 tiers for no assists. Maybe next season we can have F5 with no assists, which is absolutely crazy. And then we got the sign up tracks as well, with the evaluation race. They're going to be racing around Belgium, which that was actually my first PSGL commentary, the evaluation races around Belgium, and that was definitely one to remember, of course. So more information about the evaluation races are on Discord, of course. And you also got to do time trials in both Spain and United States, and I don't think people like Spain on this game, but it is a challenge, so that's why the directors picked Spain as one of the tracks. And you got to basically run those events with the assists you're going to plan to use in the tiers as well. And you got until August the 2nd to get in your evaluation races and time trial events done. But for sign-ups close on the 26th, so at least it gives you a few extra days after the sign-ups close to get your evaluation races done. You may not be free before sign-ups close, but you may be free just before the time trial and evaluation races close. So make sure you get those done, of course, because if you don't, you won't be allowed to race in Season 29, which will be a bit of a shame, but just gives you an idea. And Belgium is a long track as well, so it'll definitely test everybody that's racing. Over the 500 drivers in PlayStation, over 200 in PC. That's excluding the esports drivers that don't have to do the evaluation race, because obviously we know what they can do. They've raced the best of the best before, so it's mainly the drivers that we don't see in esports nowadays, and we want to just find out a little bit more about their pace. But get signing up, get your time trials and evaluation races done, and who knows, we could be commentating on you this season in Season 29. Who knows, Mark could be commentating on you in the top tier. Yes,
well, that is definitely what I'd like to see, and certainly Belgium, as someone who has won a few PSGL races at Belgium, certainly a track close to my heart in terms of virtual league racing. I'm interested to see who lays down the marker. But now let's get on with this. We have a formation lap here at Paul Ricard for this social event tonight on PS4, and some very familiar faces up top. We got Wilson Hughes at midnight on the front row with Jordan and Duncan, the championship runner-up from Season 28 on PS4 Tier 1 last season. And then, we've got the F2 champion Ballano in P7. I think that's just outside the top 6. I think he'll be looking to make quite the impression. But based on what you were saying earlier, Jess, if he carries on this form, it's almost a guarantee he's going to be in the top tier of PS4 and PSGL next season.
Yeah, we saw the likes of Benjamin, of course, who was his first season in Season 27. He performed very, very well, got quite a few wins. He got promoted to F1 just like that as well. So, we just commentated Curse Ballano, unfortunately. He's been disqualified from the formation lap. And tyre temperature's not a big factor compared to previous games, but still a bit of a factor. His tyres are going to be quite cold, so he needs to pretty much get the best start that he can, because otherwise he's going to be in a lot of trouble. I wonder if he made contact with anyone. I don't know, but just looking at the strategies right now, I'm intrigued to see why everybody apart from Casper and Slimbo have gone for the hards. I'm not really that surprised, because the alternate strategy, like we've seen in Spain last night with Jarno Opmig going from P15 to P2, doing, I think it was hard to medium, which was absolutely insane. So I think they took the lead of Jarno Opmisberg and going for the alternate strategy, because this is one of the tracks where it is alternate strategy OP. But Slimbo, I can understand why he's going on the mediums, but Casper on the softs, does he want to get some moves into turn 1 quite early on? But we'll see. Maybe Casper's just trying things out, because like we said, it is a social race, not a championship race.
I don't know, maybe he forgot to change tyres, but he's certainly going to have a massive tyre advantage to start off with. I'm certainly going to do my star cam on him, at least for the first lap. That's going to be a feature of my my Twitter feed this season when I'm doing the commentaries, just to select a driver at random and do the first lap on the start. So I think Casper will have a fair opportunity to gain a couple of places at least.
Yeah, we will. And I have to say, massive shout out to everybody that is watching the stream right now. Hope you're doing well. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Premier Sim GL, and also give us a like and subscribe as well. Turn notifications on so you won't miss a thing of any streams and videos that we do on PSGL. We're on 2.65k subscribers, which is insane. So get that subscribe button, just press it and turn it from red to grey if you haven't already. Anyway, the 5 red lights are on. The 50% race is about to get underway, and it's a very decent start from Wilson heading towards turn 1, but Midnight is going to probably try and stay behind for now. Let's watch Casper, actually. Casper's all the way up into 4th position. He's already passed Jordan and Duncan then, and already up into P3. You could get Midnight into turn 2 potentially as well. What's the likes of Cortex doing? He's got past a few cars as well. A few damages already, I think, for some of the drives. A few people going off. I think Cortex going off as well. Casper is up into 2nd place. He could get Wilson Hughes towards turn 8. The delta is considerably higher on the softs compared to the hard compounded tyres. So not surprised that Casper's up there already. A decent start from him as well, but he's got to get his tyres up to temperature. That's the most important thing, and make sure he doesn't overheat. But Wilson, he did what he needed to do, and he is in control of this race from now on.
Casper made a mighty start from the line. I mean, he was literally past 2 cars in a flash. But you know, this has actually worked out pretty nicely for Wilson. We'll see how long those softs are going to last at their best. You'd expect Casper to have at least a couple of laps advantage, but he's actually over a second behind Wilson at this early stage. And if that carries on, Wilson's going to have a huge. Oh, and there's been a bit of a shunt at the back. I think Cortez has gone off. Yeah, he's been forced wide on the big horseshoe curve there. And he's moved back down to P18. Oh, and again, snap of oversteer, the rear of the car not being, and both Hasses go off right ahead of him. It's pretty chaotic at the back. Juice is all the way down in P20, so he's had a bit of a nightmare start there. And both Hasses are coming into the pits. Well, a gaggle of cars coming into the pits. In fact, the 2 Hasses are going side by side in the pit lane. Unbelievable. So we've got 5 cars in the pit lane at this point.
And unfortunately, Juice has retired from the session, so his night has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. He did very well in the last social race, but he's not going to live up to that expectation this race, which is a bit of a shame, of course, but there's still other social races, of course, because I'm almost certain there's going to be more. Don't forget, there's also another social race on Sunday night at 8 p.m. In Belgium, and that's going to be commentated by Luke Etheridge and Evan as well. But here we go, Casper going side by side with Wilson Hughes heading towards turn 8. This should be easy pickings for the Aston Martin driver, and he does that with ease. Casper up into the lead of this race. He's got to build up that gap now to make sure that when he pits, it's not going to be too bad for him as well. But watch out for the hard runners when they go onto the softs at the end, because they're going to be almighty quick as well. I'm quite surprised Midnight's not been able to catch up to Wilson, but now Casper is not in between these drivers anymore. We'll probably see, I think, Midnight probably close in a little bit as well. So we're looking at positions gained from the drivers as well. Apart from Casper gaining 5 positions, Lada's been the biggest gainer. Out of everybody that's gained 6, we have a yellow flag. That is a Haas car that's gone off again. I believe that's Louis. It is Louis, not Lewis, because he is French. So Louis is down into 19th place. Not the start that he wanted at this stage as we head towards lap 3. Casper setting the fastest lap so far of this race. We're going to watch out for the DRS then. Os Formula, to be fair, is continuing its momentum from the sprint race into this race as well. Who knows, because this is a no assist lobby. If he continues his trade here, he could be in a higher tier than he might expect, and he's been surprising me. One of the dark horses so far.
No, he's had a very impressive start. I mean, looking at the drivers on the hard tyres, they're having a horrible time with this so far. Full fuel tank on the slowest race tyre. It's going to be a bit of a struggle for them for a few laps at least. I mean, 1.5 seconds to count the stop already. Also, the DRS range. You'll be hoping for the car to sort of battle each other quite a bit. He is going to have to be at a disadvantage later on, Casper, when he's going to be going on to the harder sort of tyre compound. Imagine he's going to be going to the hards, perhaps to match those who started on the hards. And again, Lewis in the pits again after smashing into the wall on the main straight in sector 2. So yeah, nightmare for Louis. Not a good day for him so far. Midnight keeping a watching brief on just behind Duncan. Top 10 not covered by much at the moment. Actually surprised that Nardi hasn't made any moves. Crypton very doing very nicely in P9 at the moment, definitely pushing above his weight.
Who knows? He could be in one of the top tiers this season. You never know. But for some of the drivers, they're probably glad that France is not the evaluation races after tonight. It is Belgium. So their focuses could be on Belgium. And luckily, Belgium is a race on Sunday. So Belgium is a nice warm-up for them too. So in fact, their main focus will be that on Sunday if they are in that social race, of course. Ash Beth was looking pretty feisty as well over Fabi just a moment ago, but he's dropped a little bit ahead. So we're watching the gap in front of Casper and Wilson, 2 seconds for now. So Casper is putting in the lap times, but Wilson is keeping it steady at the moment. As Slimbo, another retirement from this race, the infamous turn 2-3 section, catches a lot of drivers out, and not surprised where he retired, of course. We'll see if we can go on board with Rudy in the AlphaTauri. Now, once they pitted, actually, the onboard's actually fixed itself, so I can actually go on board with him. And I think his car was gone, so we couldn't go on board with him. But we can see the drivers in front going for moves then. Kryptonite's gained, I think, a few tenths on Oz Formula then as well. So don't forget, this is a no assist lobby, so no line, no automatic gears, no ABS, no traction. So they're just going to rely on their pace alone, really, to get them through as well. And if they really want to get into the top tiers, they're showing us what they're made of here as well. Cortex on the back of Jerry, the two Alfa Romeo drivers fighting side by side, heading towards turn 12. Don't forget, we did see Wilson and Midnight fight side by side around this complex in the sprint race, but these two are going all at it at the moment. Cortex does not want to give up without a fight as we head towards the final corner. The 35 driver, well, I can't remember what nationality he's from, but he's definitely want to give his teammate a run for his money. No team orders in Alfa Romeo, of course, which is making the Alfa Romeo team bosses a little bit nervous, of course, but we'll just wait until I think the DRS zone before these two make a move again. Let's see who else is close. Maybe Banner or Nardi. Yeah, look at this. Banner 2 tenths behind the Williams car. I wonder why he's so close, because the dirty air is just going to hinder him, but he knows what he's doing, of course, and he's just waiting for the perfect opportunity to try and get past. He's about 2 or 3 tenths now. DRS enabled. I don't think he's going to get the move, but you can see Kryptonite getting past Oz Formula. Beautiful move from the AlphaTauri driver, and another position for Kryptonite, up into 8th position, and I'm sure a few people will be very, very impressed for that.
Yeah, I don't think any of the drivers want to be the guy who takes out the race director, so maybe they're being a bit more kind to Krypton, but to be fair, looking at his lap times, but very decent race pace. He's not far off the pace of the top 7 ahead of him. Ash Beth, showing some good form so far. Sector 2, oh yeah, looks like CC Brain. What a nightmare evening CC Brain's had. He'll be wanting to get some graphics done straight after this one, because it's been a bit of a waste of time for him so far.
Yeah, it is as well, but luckily they will be running setups on the actual season as well, so maybe some people are not comfortable with these preset setups. I wonder what presets these drivers have gone for, and maybe if we do have the post-race interviews and if the drivers do decide to have an interview with us, maybe they can tell us which of the presets they've gone for, and why have they chosen it as well, because different presets can work for different tracks, and sometimes preset 3, which is the default setup, does not work well, but sometimes some of the drivers have to live with it, of course, and Oz Formula is still keeping Kryptonite steady, so this could be a really good midfield battle, of course. So we got AlphaTauri versus Aston Martin. When was the last time we saw that? Silverstone, of course, as well, and also in Austria, where we saw Yuki Tsunoda and Fernando Alonso fighting for position as well, fighting for points, and that was great to see as well. So we're definitely seeing almost a return to reality, but not quite. And we got Sebastian Vettel was getting back to his form as well in Aston Martin, which was great to see as well. But Midnight finally finding the pace on Wilson now. 3 tenths is the gap between himself and the McLaren driver. So Do you think he was probably saving a bit of fuel or maybe tyres to potentially try and close the gap? Because don't forget, saving fuel is definitely more of a factor on this game, because they have banned the party mode because it gave Mercedes an advantage. So you only have one fuel mix, which is standard. You only have the choice of lean when you go into safety car, and there is no safety car tonight. So yes, that is going to play a factor on how many tanks of fuel do they put in the car. Hopefully these drivers have not underfueled, but if they have underfueled, hopefully they're doing enough to save and lift and coast. But yeah, they'll probably know what they're doing maybe towards the middle of the season. But again, even when we get into the season, it'll probably take getting used to.
Yes, I mean, this is not an easy track to fuel save on whatsoever. So yeah, unlike previous games, you don't want to underfuel too much. But yeah, Midnight I think Midnight, unless it's an easy overtake from DRS, he does not want to dive in on Wilson and waste time, because that's just going to favour Casper. Casper's going to come out in P14 or P. Oh, now Oz Formula's out. Actually, he's had a massive off on the Mistral straight. Yeah, car spun around and he's ripped off the rear of the car. So yeah, that's another retirement. Surprising amount of retirements, Paul Ricard. We mentioned how large the runoff areas are, but so we've had 3 retirements already in this one. Juice being the most notable of the 4 now, rather. So we've only got 17 drivers running out there right now. As Wilson, he's not enjoying these hards very much. He's really struggling for understeer. The front of the car doesn't look as planted, but that is the nature of the hards. They do take a while to get up to temperature. And he's going to be hoping, he knows if he makes any sort of major mistake at this stage, he's going to lose possibly 2 or 3 places. So he's got 5 cars behind him. That is enormous pressure. But given the fact that he's won 2 Tier 1 championships on PS4, I think there's not many drivers who could handle that sort of pressure, but he's certainly one of them.
Yeah, and look at this as well. Jordan on the back of this as well. Another yellow flag. That is, I think, Louis that's gone off. I think he's all the lap down. Oh, look at this. Jordan going side by side almost with Midnight past turn 4. And my, oh my, looks like Wilson is probably going to be a bit worried as well. But at least Wilson is going to be having a lot of fun, because there's no championship to fight for. And he was even saying on Twitter a few days ago that he had a lot of fun fighting with the likes of Juice, Midnight, Duncan, the ones that were in the social race as well. So I wonder if he's loving the pressure right now, as well as Midnight was trying to break the slipstream from Jordan to make sure Jordan did not get past as well. And we got a DRS train all the way down to P10 and potentially P11 if Joey gets a move on, which is, I have to say, pretty much insane. Actually, it's not until P11, sorry, because Kryptonite is not caught up yet. It's to P7, actually. So any one of those drivers could potentially get onto the podium, of course. Midnight just getting on the corner exit of Wilson Hughes. I think he's got definitely more commitment in the corners than Wilson has. But Wilson, I think the preset that Wilson's gone for is tailored to the straights a lot more. But we shall see. Another retirement, but again, not that surprised why he's retired. Why would you race when you're a couple of laps down? So forgetful evening, I would say, for Louis. But again, he would focus on the evaluation races and time trials to come then. And I think as we just passed the AI of Louis there, but luckily the AI is ghosted. So and Jordan's gone off, I think. Yeah, Jordan's gone off and he's left the session. What has happened there? Is his controller disconnected or something? Because he was battling with these guys. So a nightmare that's happened for the Mercedes driver, and his front wing is completely gone, and Cortex is out of the race as well.
Oh my goodness, what is going on? All the cars are falling apart at the moment. Just mentioning the pace of the leaders. So for the first time, Casper softs are definitely starting to wear out, because he was half a second slower than Wilson on the previous lap. And yeah, there's a lot of drivers struggling really. I think I personally wouldn't have started on the hards. I would have preferred them later on when the fuel is lighter, because Midnight in particular is punishing those front tyres, following Wilson so closely lap after lap. It's going to be a while before they pit. But given all the retirements we've had, it's working out beautifully for Casper, because when he pits, he's going to be in lovely clean air. There should be no issues with traffic. So that's going to give him a real opportunity to undercut those on the hards. Of course, though, they will come back at Casper later on when they get rid of these hards finally. But the gap is dropping significantly. I think Casper, yeah, here he comes. I was going to say Casper was surely going to, they're very worn tyres. See a significant line graining on those tyres. So he's in the pits now. So that's 9 laps he's done on those softs, and he comes in from the lead of the race, and Wilson usurps the advantage for now.
Yeah, Casper, I would say, doing very well to manage the tyres to get them to the 9-lap window, because according to the data that I've got as well, 8 laps is where the softs can go into optimum pace. So I think he was probably pushing 1 lap more than you would expect, potentially as well, from this race. So that's probably why Casper was losing time to Wilson, of course, but at least he's got fresh hards and he can make his way through the field, because don't forget the hard runners will still have to make their stop. 1.6 seconds is the gap, the delta between the soft and the hard tyres. That is massive around France, and even though the softs last 8 laps, you could say Spain is probably easier to do the hard to medium strategy. Maybe that's probably what some people would go for, maybe go on the mediums and pit for from the hards quite early on as well. So at least they have the flexibility on that. Meanwhile, Banner has got past Joey, because Joey has had a bit of an off in turn 8. So that's not good. And he almost hit Casper there. I don't think Casper's got damage, but that was very lucky for him. But Joey was ghosted anyway, so all good. Unfortunately, the deltas are gone on my screen. That's all right then. It's not just me. So we just have to rely on the track map. But all we could see is Midnight just edging in on Wilson ever so much. And we got Duncan as well, Fabi, Ash Best as well. Falconardi also having a good race so far as well. But it's like with the train ever growing, if they do not get a move on, watch out for this Williams driver, because he could be on the cusp of getting past these drivers as well. We got Lars and Kryptonite on this train. We've basically got 2 DRS trains on the go. One from P1 to P5 and one from P6 to I'll say P8, as Joey has retired from the session after his spin there. The drivers are retiring rapidly. We did see this in USA as well. So, but yeah, again, it is a social race. But I'm surprised some people that are not that have gave up, because the social race is a chance to learn the car a bit more, the setups, how you approach not getting a race after getting damage, for example, because if you're wanting to go into F1 esports, they want you to see that you do not give up after damaging your front wing or just being a few laps down. They just want to see your perseverance, and if you just retire like that, it's not going to look good later on, because believe it or not, the F1 esports teams, like the likes of Sauber, McLaren and Mercedes, I'm almost certain those 3 do what PSGL, they certainly do. I know Sauber and Mercedes do, because they've clipped quite a few battles from their drivers, of course. So they do watch these races with anticipation. So something for the drivers to think about in the races to come, of course. But for the drivers that are not quite at esports level yet, or might be too young to do so, maybe they've got a few years to learn this yet. But if they're at the age where they've given up like that, then they probably have to take a look at them and make sure that they learn from this, and maybe focus on what they need to improve on for the next race. But again, luckily they will be having setups for the season, so that's probably why a few people are struggling, because the default setups are very understeery.
Yeah, they certainly are. But Wilson doing a solid job so far, and 3-second time penalty for Ballina. Yeah, I mean, particularly most of the spins that I've seen have been in Sector 1 and Sector 2, sort of the lower downforce sections of the track. And particularly some of the curbs seem particularly vicious when they try and run on them onto the entry to the Mistral Straight. So, this raging battle between Wilson, Midnight and Duncan's been pretty much going on the entire race so far. In terms of the pace, it looks fairly simple. Casper's lapping definitely a few tenths faster a lap. Obviously, he's on the same tyre compound, but they're still going to be going another 5 laps at least before they think about pitting from the softs. At this stage on lighted fuel, they'll probably be able to go an extra lap than Casper managed earlier on, because tyre wear will be a little bit less as the fuel burns off. So I suspect some of them might be thinking about coming in for the softs at the end of lap 17.
Yeah, I would say lap 17, lap 18, pit for the softs. If you pit any earlier than that, there's no way your softs are going to make it to the end. And we did see from Casper that he was able to make the softs last for 9 laps. So that's probably what the drivers have been learning. They probably saw Casper go into the pits at the end of lap 9 and thinking, hey, I could potentially do 9 laps on the softs as well. But again, Casper had clear air. He did not fight anyone for the lead. Once he took the race lead, he was able to just be in control from the moment he overtook the likes of Midnight and Wilson. So that's probably why he was able to save his tyres. Whereas the other drivers, they're going to make their way from when they pit to try and get to near the front of the grid. So they're probably going to have their work cut out, and the tyre temperatures again are going to be much hotter than what Casper's was as well. So maybe pitting with 8 laps to go will probably be the best option for them. But looking at penalties, only 5 drivers getting penalties so far, including our race leader at the moment, Wilson. So, again, I think there's only a few corners where you can get penalties around here, but I think with a few people going wide, that's probably why a few people have got penalties. But the likes of Midnight and Duncan, they're penalty-free right now. I want to see, actually, if they got any warnings. I know a few people may be on the cusp of getting a penalty. Don't forget, if you get 3 corner cutting warnings, you do get a penalty, and that's a really early to go into the pits. And Midnight's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and I wonder if it's what I said earlier, maybe the soft maybe wasn't the best option, and yet they're gone for the medium. So they probably must have read my mind and wanting to go on tyres which will be durable and last until the end of the race instead of soft, which the temperatures just overheat too much. So yeah, not surprised that they've done that, but I wonder if some of the guys up front, like Fabi and Ash Best, will they do the same? Will they respond to the drivers that just pitted, or will they be going on Casper's strategy on the softs? I'm looking forward to seeing how this race playing out with 2 or potential 3 race strategies on our hands here.
Yeah, I'd actually hope that Fabi and Ash Best push it a little bit further to go on the softs, and he's right behind him now. Ash, very good race pace from him today. He's only been on average about a 10th or 2 slower than Wilson, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, I want to see all 3 strategies play out. I think Casper will be slightly disappointed, actually, seeing those drivers all coming into the pits. I mean, he has got the penalty advantage, of course, with Wilson and Midnight both having penalties behind him. But I think he would have probably hoped for them to go on the softs, because it would have meant he would have undercut them that much more. But as it is, he's not that far down the road from Wilson. They're going to have tyre advantage all the way to the end of the race now. The mediums will easily get to the end. So the interval is 2.7 seconds. So it was about 1.5 seconds when Casper pitted. So he's only really gained 1.2 seconds with that undercut, because Wilson's decision, and Midnight, of course, and Duncan, to pit that much earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why Wilson pitted earlier as well, to cover off Casper potentially as well. Maybe they would have stayed a bit longer if Casper was on the same strategy as them. As we're seeing Ash Best and Fabi, they had to respond to the undercut really, and if they did not, they probably would have lost a chunk of time. So they come in. We also got the likes of Lars, Nardi, they're in the pit as well. Pretty much most people that were on the hards, pretty much everybody that was on the hards from the start of the race are coming in. No one has chosen the soft tyre strategy. As Banner, our F2 champion, is out of the race. Final corner, or did he bin it in the pits? It looks like he might have binned it in the, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Oh, he did. He did bin it in the pits. He binned on the pit entry. I could see his car there. That is a rookie mistake and something that you do not want to do. I've done that quite a few times on this game. Japan in qualifying, I made that rookie mistake. So everyone does it, but shame for Banner, of course, and what a shame. He must have got damage during his lap, because otherwise he would have not gone into the pits. But here comes Nardi on Kryptonite, and he must have got his tyres up to temperature very, very quickly, because his fresh rubber is definitely helping him here past turn 8, and Nardi is up into P7.
Yeah, well, you know, Nardi effectively has gone from P20, including the sprint race, all the way to P7. So that's been a very good recovery from him over the sessions. And so now Wilson and Midnight, they're now beginning to hunt down the Aston Martin of the Casper. His strategy is not working out. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Casper to defend this first place now. He has got that penalty advantage, so he could bear that in mind. So he might want to defend a little bit harder just to try and delay them almost. I don't think he's going to be able to hold them back, but 3-second advantage Wilson has to try and regain over Casper, and a 5-second for Midnight. So Duncan is actually in the box seat right now to win this.
Yeah, he is as well, and potentially Fabi as well, Ash Best, literally anyone that's in that train could potentially do it as well. So, you know, if Duncan could just stay within 3 seconds, then pretty much he's got this race in the bag. But maybe he wants to get past them just in case Duncan himself gets a time penalty as well, and he wants to cover off that deficit. So you know, he has to work with it. If you do not go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver, and you are a racer at heart. So you do what you love, and Duncan really wants to try and get past on track, of course. But if he gets towards the end of the race and they're in a similar position, and Duncan is potentially penalty free, as there's some slides going on at the moment, as Fuzzy goes into the pit. I believe he's got a stop go. Yes, it is a stop go. Don't know what will happen there. So he goes in to pit for front wing damage, but Duncan is looking very close. Midnight's looking very close on Wilson past turns 10 and 11. Wilson, I think, struggling just a little bit compared to Midnight. I think Midnight is pretty much more on the pace compared to Wilson at this stage, but again, Wilson closing up to Casper as well. Maybe Wilson and Midnight are using each other as slipstream. We don't know, but I hope these guys do not get any more penalties, because I wonder if Midnight could push Wilson to be getting another one, or vice versa and stuff like that. So we will see, of course. There's a DRS enable for both Wilson, Midnight and Duncan. Duncan not quite close enough. He's just waiting. He's being very patient right now. He's not going to go for the move yet, because he knows that if Midnight does not get the move successfully done, he could possibly go for it. So he's just biding his time right now. He's probably in the best position in the house, like he said.
Yes, the previous lap, Wilson went hugely deep at turn 8 at the chicane, and that allowed Midnight to get round to him. I think he was caught out by Casper being on the hard brake. Oh, and a big snap of oversteer from Casper, and that's going to compromise him massively on this straight. That's the worst time for it to happen. Here comes Wilson, the double champion, but here comes Midnight alongside him. Is he going to try and take both of them? No, he doesn't lunge in. Just decides, yeah, I'll just get past Casper. That's the safer option. So yeah, now Casper down to P3, and surely Duncan's going to follow them through very shortly. Duncan knows he has to try and get past Casper as soon as possible. Ash Best has actually overtaken Fabi as well. So Ash Best is in the top 5 and potentially on for a podium because of the penalty situation, given that Casper's going to be struggling for pace all the way to the end of the race. So yeah, Casper's strategy is not really working out at this stage. He's led a significant part of this race, but in lap 17, he has finally lost the net lead of this race, and now Duncan's all over the back of him. Duncan, will he think about a lunge down at the last corner, because he doesn't want to drop out DRS, otherwise he will really struggle to get back on terms with Midnight and Wilson if he drops out that DRS at this stage.
Yeah, and I wonder, since Casper and Duncan now are in the same esports team, they're in VSR, of course, so I wonder if both of these drivers will be working together, and maybe Casper could be like, you know what, you get these drivers, you try and get past them to possibly take the win here, and I could focus potentially getting as these positions. And Ash Best has gone off. He's had a spin, which is, I think, similar corners to what we saw earlier in turn 2. I don't think he's got damage. Nope, he hasn't. There was just a bit of a spin there as well. So much traction loss from Ash Best, and he was running so well. He got past Fabi, and now he's dropped it down to 9th. But don't forget, if there's one more retirement, everyone else gets points, so there's no reason to give up now. And Ash Best's tyres must be cooking right now due to that spin. But let's ignore what's happening to Ash right now. Casper has a huge threat with the likes of Duncan behind, and Duncan having the better traction going towards turn 10 then. Let's see what Casper could do on the defensive. Duncan going side by side, wheel to wheel, almost hitting each other, but luckily both of them have left the space, unlike Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen did in Silverstone. We don't want to talk too much here as well, but they're racing with pure respect, these two drivers. They race each other in many leagues before, in many events. They know, these drivers know what they're talking about as well, and you know, Duncan and Casper doing an incredible job. I have to say, Casper's defensive on Duncan was crazy. I thought Casper was just going to let Duncan through, but no team orders at VSR, and they're actually going for it. They're actually racing, and Duncan must be worried, because if Duncan doesn't get past Casper, his tyres are going to overheat like crazy, and that's because they're going to bring the likes of Fabi and maybe Nardi into the fold as well. So Duncan just got to find the perfect opportunity. He's just so close. He's got to be careful to not get too close, because otherwise he's going to get into a spin. That's probably why Ash Best was caught up, because he was too close for the likes of Fabi and Nardi behind. So, you know, that's probably why he may have had a spin, or maybe he spun by himself as well. So let's see, Duncan then, DRS Atway. I think this should be an easy one for Duncan to do, unless Casper defends for his life. But look at this, we've got Midnight and Wilson going for the lead, and Midnight overtakes Wilson, because Wilson does not have DRS, Midnight does. Midnight is your race lead. I won't be surprised if these two go all at it for the final few moments of this race, because we also got Duncan that's also fighting for this too. He has no time penalty, so if I was Midnight, I would floor it and try and push as much as you can to make sure that you get within that 3 seconds in order to keep that race victory. And who knows, we might see Duncan get a penalty, which for Duncan's sake, I hope he doesn't get a penalty. I hope nobody else gets a penalty, actually. Fabi, another driver, penalty free right now. I think he's also within podium territory, even P4 as well. So if Fabi could get within Casper's territory, a podium could be on the cards for Fabi, and that could be insane considering he was in F2 last season. He was in F1 in F1 2019 as well. So a driver that has performed quite well in the back end of last season, looking to go back into F1 again. I won't be surprised if he does with the way he's been performing in the social race, I have to say. Another contender for F1. It's just hard to tell who would be in F1 due to preset setups, but the way Fabi's performing, maybe he could be the ones that directors consider to be the ones that join the likes of potentially the top runners for F1.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a supremely solid drive from Duncan so far. No warnings whatsoever. The only driver on the whole field here today who has no warnings, as far as I can tell, of those who are still running. Only got 11 drivers running at the moment as Lars storms past Krypton up to P7. Nice move from the Alpine driver there. Ashbeth slowly beginning to catch up to Krypton, so still got maybe a chance of getting back into the top 8 after that earlier mistake. Casper actually gamely holding on here for P4, and if he can just stay within that time zone, he's still going to finish in the top 3. But quite a few laps to go. I think Midnight, that mistake in the pit entry, that's going to massively compromise him. And Wilson just saving his ERS for the time being. He's definitely winding up for another attack.
Yeah, he's going to have the DRS now, so Midnight is going to have a disadvantage compared to the likes of Wilson. So maybe that's why Wilson did not basically let that go a few laps ago when he was overtaken by Midnight, knowing he's going to have the advantage in the closing laps of this race. We saw something similar happen in the social races yesterday with PC, with the fact that if you don't have DRS, you're going to be almost likely going to be passed unless the dirty air hinders the car behind, which we saw yesterday. So something to bear in mind. Let us know in the chat, guys. We want to hear your thoughts on who you think is going to be winning this race. Who do you think is going to get the podium as well? Any surprises you've seen this race as well that you may not have expected as well? Let us know as well. You can also get involved on Twitter at PremierSimGL as well. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button and turn notifications on. And I know some of you are not subscribed, so if you haven't already, turn that red button into a grey button, press the subscribe button, and you'll be notified for when the next PSGL stream is. And you could get to watch races on the PlayStation side and the PC side as well, because don't forget, the PlayStation side this year has 2 versions of the game, PS4 and PS5, and it is cross-gen, so PS4 can play with PS5 players, and it's shown tonight that they can do it nicely well. And it's great to see that Cody's have implemented the cross-gen compatibility, of course, but we are seeing Wilson dropping off a little bit, but he's not giving up without a fight, and he wants to end his time on PlayStation with a bang. Obviously, we got the social race on Sunday. I believe he's racing in that, so he's still got a couple more chances to prove himself, but he wants to get as many wins as possible. Midnight gets another 3-second time penalty. Surely that will promote Wilson up into P2 now.
Yeah, Duncan just massively overshot himself out the exit of turn 2, and he went miles wide, but he managed to only pick up a warning for that, I believe. Casper still in the hunt, but yeah, Casper almost certainly going to be on the podium now thanks to that second time penalty for Midnight. But it is ferociously competitive. If this is a prelude to what we're going to see in the top tiers this season, particularly what we saw last night and tonight, in terms of the battles for the lead that we're seeing, so close, no one's really got a massive advantage at this stage. I mean, it is often the case that, early in the life of a game, such as this, especially yearly sports titles, there are sometimes someone who leaps forward ahead of everybody for the first season, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time. For what I've seen so far, I don't think anyone's going to have a massive advantage, and I think one of the reasons for that is because in terms of how the cars behave, it's not too far. It's an evolution of what we saw on F1 2020, just like in real life, that the cars are not dramatically different. I think we will see massive differences at first on 2022 because the cars, of course, will be brand new.
Yeah, I agree as well. And if you've not seen the F1 22 cars, I think it's pretty amazing, I have to say as well. And hopefully it'll make the racing a little bit more closer because and that is probably the hindrance that most drivers have today in real life and in league racing about overtakes as well. So I'm looking forward to next season as well and potential with the silly season potentially happening. There's still many teams that have yet to sign a driver for next season, Mercedes being one of them, Alfa Romeo, Williams, AlphaTauri, Red Bull with the second seat. So there's still plenty of seats up for grabs next season with still many seats to be filled. So, you know, and it's like that in PSGL as well. There's still many seats to be decided in the PSGL top tiers, of course, and you've got a few days to prove that you deserve to be in the top tier if you want to race in it, of course, and still plenty of time to sign up and plenty of time to improve. And we've seen with the likes of Wilson, of course, as well, where he wasn't quite up there in season 26. Well, he was, but he didn't fight for the title. But in season 27 and season 28, he definitely showed why he was definitely the creme de la creme, as it were, as well. And it shows that I think the more chance you get used to the game, the more that you improve. Meanwhile, Kryptonite gets past last side by side. It's still going side by side past turn 10 into coming up into turn 11. And Kryptonite once again into P7 as almost a bit of a spin. How did he keep the car in good condition there? That was insane right now. But Lars looking good so far. The last time we saw Lars racing was in PSGL F2 last season. And he's been in good form in some other leagues as well. And again, not surprised to see him up there as well. And out of the top 9, the only one that has not been in F1 and F2 in the past is Kryptonite. So Kryptonite being the odd one out at the moment, but he's definitely improving. Who knows, I could be commentating on him next season, or this season. You never know in F2 because I'll be covering F2, Mark will be covering F1, and you know, it's just it's like silly season, isn't it? We all predicting all the time who's going to get F1, who's going to get F2, but we won't find out until, I would say, is it the 4th, the 6th? I can't remember what date the placement gets announced, but yeah, we're going to be like on our minds until then who's going to get F1 and F2. But 3 laps to go, still the battle for the win to be decided as well. And at the moment, it looks like it's going to be going to Duncan because still no warnings, no penalties.
Yes, now the leaders are approaching the back of Nikita Fuzzy Spin to get that DRS potentially. So that may help Midnight. Of course, they'll be able to clear that car fairly quickly. But depending on the timing of it, if Midnight can use that Haas, they're about maybe 2.5-3 seconds away from that back marker at the moment. Fuzzy's had an awful race, as did Louis in the Haas as well. So a Haas at the back of the field is not something you normally see in real life, clearly. But Wilson trying to keep the pressure on Midnight. But yeah, Duncan knows. He will know the penalty situation because in games gone by, you wouldn't have known the penalties unless you did the team radio, but now they're actually displayed on screen, so it takes away a bit of the risk involved. Once you know that situation, it changes your mindset. You think, okay, I can just sit here, and as long as I just drive to the track limits, I'm going to win this race.
Yeah, that's what I like as well, and it gives us commentators a bit of an understanding on which drivers need to push more, which drivers need to actually close the gap to make sure that they could gain to position due to other people's misfortunes as well. And it's a feature that I'm really glad Cody's brought into the mid-game cycle as well. I think it was quite a popular feature as well, and it was a bit of a shame they got rid of the uncertainty. Meanwhile, Midnight and Wilson going to go for the race lead once again. Wilson tries to cover up Midnight. Nicely done from the McLaren driver once again. Past turn 8, heading towards turn 9 and 10 then. Midnight has got the straight line speed that he needed to, but Wilson keeps the car under control heading towards 10 then, and he's your race leader for now. Wilson will definitely beat Midnight in the race so far, because don't forget, Midnight does have 6 seconds worth of penalties, whereas Wilson has only 3. And the likes of Duncan, Casper and Babby, the only 3 drivers of the whole grid to not get a penalty, so they're probably going to be the ones pushing. I wonder what I would be in Fabi's shoes right now, because he knows he can see the cars in front. Maybe he's probably happy with P5 right now, and maybe he could potentially get P4, you never know. But Duncan is closing in just a little bit on Midnight. He's got the DRS. Could he get into turn 1, or is it too risky to do, knowing that he's got no penalties, whereas Midnight's got 6? if I was Duncan and Midnight did not have a penalty, he probably would have gone for the move there. But for now, he's keeping it steady, and he knows that he wants to add to his race victories. He challenged Wilson for the title last season, and with Wilson out of the picture this season, he's definitely one of the favourites. Yellow flag, that is an AlphaTauri. I believe that's Rudy. Yep, it is Rudy that's had a bit of a spin in towards turn 9 as Ashbest and Lars having a bit of a battle for P8 on the track, then still going side by side, turn 6 into 7 now then. Heavy traction zone, as Mark was talking about earlier on as well, and Ashbest attacking very, very nicely indeed as well, breaking the slipstream. Lars on the right-hand side in towards turn 8, then DRS, I think, is on Ashbest, and Lars, I think, had a bit of DRS from the cars in front as well, but Ashbest holds on to P8 for now. This could be a fight that goes on to the end. We're on the penultimate lap of this race. Who's going to get the advantage here, Ash or Lars? Lars could go on the attack once again. This is a social race, and they're still going side by side. This is similar to what we saw with Wilson and Midnight on the final lap of the 5-lap race today. It's like they've gone into overdrive, knowing that they've got a few more laps to go of this race, and Lars knocking up with a fight, and there's almost a bit of slight understeer into turn 12 for Lars, but that means he's lost a bit of time to Ashbest. But let's watch the battle for the race lead then, because that's important.
Oh, glitch. Oh, no. Yep, that is a clear demonstration of a glitch there. And he smashes the wall in frustration. But yeah, that's a shocking glitch, which we've seen probably since F1 2015, to be fair, when the game comes out. That's always a glitch early on in the game's life. He definitely used 2 compounds, and yeah, he's been robbed of a podium 100% there. So that's a real shame for him. So that probably means Midnight's going to be... he might still lose P3 to Fabi at the end.
No, he won't. I don't think he would. I think he should be fine, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think that gives Midnight and Wilson a bit of a sense. Actually, I think he probably will lose P3 because Fabi's around about 5 seconds clear of Duncan behind Duncan right now, and Midnight, you never know what could happen. And here we go then. Duncan going side by side with Midnight, trying to leave as much space as they can, and they're still going on the attack then, and they wanted probably DRS from Rudy's Ghost, but unfortunately they're not going to get it. But Wilson has driven absolutely fantastic today, did the move when he needed to. He's going to take the win on track, but due to penalties he's not going to get the race victory. But to be honest, he could go at the end of this race with his head held high. Midnight will come across the line in second, but it is VSR Duncan, the championship contender from last season, that takes the race victory. And what a deserving one at that. No warnings, no penalties. Fabi, another one to be awarded for no penalties, gets P3. And to be honest, Casper was definitely robbed there. A glitch that we're definitely going to be reporting to Codemasters, I would say, at the end of this, because that shouldn't have happened. Midnight 4th, Nardi 5th, Kryptonite, P6, I have to say. One of the biggest gainers this race. Ashbest in P7. I didn't quite see 8th, 9th and 10th there, but at least all of them score points due to Casper's disqualification. But drive of the day goes to Lars, but we did see Lars have a fight with Ashbest, which is a very good fight actually. So he made his way up the field. But if this is the way Duncan's going to behave in the races this season, in season 29, then he is definitely going to be a threat to his main championship rivals in season 29.
Yes, I think, Duncan's going to be sticking around. So, with Wilson, if he can carry on the form from season 28, yeah, Duncan, you could argue, could start the season as the pre-season favourite, if indeed he's in the F1 tier, which he's highly likely to be. I'd be very, very surprised if he wasn't. I mean, that was a fun social race. A lot of retirements, and I think a lot of things we've seen in social races for some to think about. I think the sort of nature of the tyres and the handling, still a few kinks to work out, but that's what these sort of races are all about, shaking off the rust, getting back into the rhythm of the league racing structure. But no surprises really what we saw at the front. Midnight, Fabi, Wilson, Duncan all had very solid races. You got a feel for Casper. He was on the alternate strategy, and he would have got a podium as a result of it if it wasn't for that glitch. So he's an honourable second in my view, if they were to reinstate that in a proper league race.
We saw that with Big C as well in esports, and he had the tyre glitch, but he got reinstated to P1. So There we go. There are your race results then for the social race. And we've had 3 different social races so far on the PlayStation side. And we had 3 different race winners. Midnight winning the first one in Britain. Juice winning the second one, 50% race in USA. And we had Duncan that has won the race in France. So I wonder, can the drivers that are racing in Belgium make it 4 for 4 and go for 4th different race winner when we head there on Sunday night? We'll have to wait and see, of course. But yeah, Casper definitely was second to me. Duncan as well performed very well. Wilson, if it was with no penalty, I think he probably would have been my driver of the day as well, because don't forget he won the sprint race as well, and he took it all the way to the final lap. And I have to say, he's definitely on fire. And if he doesn't get picked up by an esports team in the future, an F1 esports team in the future, I don't know what will, who will. So definitely a star of the future, Wilson there as well. And hopefully he has a few more races to show why he was the champion of PlayStation. And he's definitely going to have a lot of fun in Belgium when we go this week on Sunday. And we're just waiting to see if anyone's in the interview room. And we have no one at the moment, unfortunately, but I have to say thank you to the 200 people that we had watching the stream earlier. We were not expecting that. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. We didn't think we would get it after the amount of views we got yesterday with George Morgan and Jack Canan commentating the Invitational, but it just goes to show that we are delivering. I think we must have beaten the viewer record on PlayStation side as well for a while, so a pretty good job to everybody. And yeah, I can't wait to watch the race on Sunday. I'm glad I'm not commentating the next one, and I just get to relax. Don't you agree?
Yes, I've got a lot of editing to do. I am busy working on the brand new intro for PSGL broadcasts, which hopefully will be completed by the end of this weekend. I'm working hard on it. I've been pumping out a lot of stuff for various leagues, but PSGL, of course, is one of the main focuses I have on that front. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then once I've sorted with that, I've got to prepare myself to team up with Luke for the top tier PS4, which will be the first time I've been directly involved in that full time since my 4-season stint back in the day. Season 21 was my last full-time season on the top tier PS4.
Wow, that was a very long time, and I have to say, Luke and yourself, Mark, a very strong partnership for this season. It couldn't have gone to a better pairing, so I'm looking forward to watching that after I'm commentating on F2. I think it should be a fun season with you guys as well. So if you want some more PSGL action this week, you are in luck. We've got the next social race on PlayStation. It's just going to be the normal 80-minute qualifying and 50% race around Belgium and Spa. A different track to France, of course. One of the longest tracks on calendar as well, set in the Ardennes Forest. And I'll be commentated by the commentator from F1 as well, Luke Etheridge, and also Evan as well. So make sure you watch. It'll be at 8 PM on Sunday, so make sure you do not miss it. Give the commentators the same love as you've given us as well. And we've also got the final social races for PC. We've got the social race, the normal social race at 7 PM. Then we got the Esports Invitational at 8 PM, commentated by George and Maku next week. So it should be exciting. They haven't decided what track it's going to be. Guess your predictions in chat on where you think the PC social races are going to be on Thursday. And I have a few thoughts on what I think it should be. But let us know your thoughts, of course. But thanks for joining us. And also thanks to Mark Hannemona for joining me in the commentary box there. And best of luck for editing the intros as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, no pressure on me at all.
Yeah, we'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your evening now. Stay safe, take care, and if you are living in a place where it's massively hot at the moment, make sure you stay hydrated, because we don't want you to be dehydrated, of course. So we will see you on Sunday for the next social race, 8 PM UK time for the Belgian Grand Prix with Luke and Evan. But for myself and Mark, have a good evening, everybody, and good night.